How do you know if you're really training hard? A new study has looked at whether it's possible to see someone on video and determine based on the video how close to failure they're training. Concretely, they had experienced coaches look at the training videos of people and estimate based on the video how many repetitions in reserve they had. And the finding was that the estimate of the coaches was roughly as accurate as most literature finds that people are themselves. So you can see how close to failure someone is almost as accurately or about as accurately as you can yourself determine it based on your sensations during a set. And that knowledge is, I think, extremely pertinent because it's not just useful for coaches to know that you can determine how close to failure someone is by looking at them, but also for people themselves. I think it is crucial to take videos of your own technique and look at them, because there are so many people that go to the gym, they train, and they are adamant that they have good exercise technique, but they've never seen their own videos. And if you've never seen your own videos, you really don't know, you cannot know if your technique is actually solid. So I highly recommend everyone to take videos of your own technique and watch them. And then based on those, you can see how close to failure you are based on the following 3 criteria. The first is a bit more subjective, the other 2 are objective, so I favor the latter 2 for the most part. So here's how you judge how close to failure someone is, whether it's yourself or your client. 1, facial emotions. This one is kind of obvious, but there's actually research showing that someone's facial expressions and how red they turn directly correlates with their actual training efforts. So if you see somebody training, yourself training, and it feels like maybe you're training hard, but actually during the set you stay full RoboCop, full Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there's no change in your facial expressions, you could probably push it a little bit more. Whereas when you're going full tomato face, it's likely that yes, that is indeed high effort. Now this is super rough, so the other 2 criteria are, I think, much more useful. 2, actual momentary muscle failure should be preceded by a gradual velocity loss. So here in this graph, you can see how the actual velocity during a set of the bar, so the speed at which the bar moves, how it develops across a set of bench presses during a 6RM in trained lifters. Now for most people, there's going to be a gradual loss of velocity, actually culminating in task failure, in momentary muscle failure. So before someone's actually failing, you should see that they start moving more slowly and more slowly. In fact, the velocity of movement in research, when you know what lift someone is doing and you have data on that person, you can determine extremely accurately how close to failure someone is based on the velocity of their movement. So if you learn to look at this, it can really help you determine how close to failure you or someone is on a video. 3, actual momentary muscle failure, the inability to perform another repetition no matter what, is always in the sticking region. You don't fail a repetition at a random point. In fact, when you're failing a repetition, all it means, we have this idea that there's sort of some whole body systemic thing. I think that's kind of the intuition many people have, like failure is a big thing, but really technically what failure means is simply that your force production at a specific point in the movement is no longer greater than the required force production to lift the movement. So at that point, your force production is not greater than the resistance. There is usually a region of the movement that is the hardest. So there is a discrepancy between your strength and the resistance curve of the movement. So there's a discrepancy between your strength curve and the exercise's resistance curve. For the squat, for example, most people fail a squat at a hip angle of 90 to 110 degrees. That's roughly halfway up. Now, some people might get stuck in the hole. That's usually due to technical failure, but it is possible. Most people though are going to be somewhere in the middle, and there's almost nobody going to fail a squat at the top. So if you're failing a squat at the top, that often means it's either volitional failure, which means it's psychological failure, motivational failure, it just became too hard, or there's a technical issue leading to that, but that usually should not occur. During the bench press, most people fail when the elbow is crossing the body. So when the elbow has crossed the body and it's getting up around this point, most people can lock out the rep. Some people again fail with the bar on their chest, but that is more likely due to technical reasons than neuromuscular reasons. For the deadlift, That's actually a little bit controversial because studies report different findings there. Some studies report that it's hard for people to get the bar over their knees. However, I think that the discrepancy in the literature is because most people don't have a sticking point in the deadlift, or rather, the sticking point is on the floor. Most people, in my experience, they just can't get the bar off the floor. So either they get the bar off the floor and then they can lock it out, or the bar is just not going anywhere. Now, in trained powerlifters, you see that there is somewhat more of a sticking point sometimes, but I think this depends on your anthropometry, your bodily dimensions. Either way, you should see that the sticking point is quite consistent. So when looking at a video of someone or yourself, look at, is there clearly high subjective effort? 1. 2, is the task failure preceded by a gradual loss of velocity? If you're not losing any velocity during the movement, you're not close to failure. And then 3, one side tangent on that, by the way, there are some people with super high fast twitch proportions of fast twitch muscle fibers, and especially powerlifters, Olympic weightlifters that you can see on YouTube, and it seems like they're lifting super explosively and then nothing. Those are definitely the exceptions to the rule, and if you actually measure their velocity of movement, you can still see that the task failure is preceded by a loss of velocity. It's just a bit more subtle. So that's 2. And 3, to recap, is the failure should occur in the biomechanical sticking region or sticking point or somewhere close to it, which may vary a little bit per individual, but overall you should have a pretty good idea of where the movement is hardest, and that's where you should fail if your technique is good and your effort is high. All right, I hope this helps you determine how hard you're really training, how hard your clients are training, and thereby optimize your training program. If you want more of this free content, don't forget to like and subscribe.